We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Iran threatens Israel. Concerns rise about the deaths of Hamas's hostages. Economic numbers come in, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Iran's leader on Wednesday threatened to take action against Israel during a prayer ceremony. He also criticized the U.S. and the West for their involvement amid tensions in the region. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, spoke at a prayer ceremony celebrating the end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan when he promised to retaliate against Israel, saying it will be punished for an airstrike that demolished Iran's consulate in Syria earlier this month. In his remarks, Khamenei said the strike, which left several Iranian generals dead, was wrongdoing and akin to an attack on Iran itself. When they attacked our consulate area, it was like they attacked our territory, Khamenei said. The evil regime must be punished, and it will be punished. Iran has been funding Hamas and Hezbollah's attack on Israel, aside from funding other terrorist groups. Fears are rising over the fate of the remaining hostages held in Gaza after Hamas said it was unsure whether it could bring forth 40 Israeli civilian captives as part of a U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal, according to officials familiar with the negotiations. The 40 hostages, including women, children, elderly men, and those in fragile health, would be released under a U.S.-supported plan for a 6-week ceasefire in the war in Gaza. In exchange, Israel would release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Instead, the militant group has been unable to confirm that it has enough civilian hostages to fulfill its end of the deal in the initial phase of the proposal plan, complicating talks towards a possible ceasefire in the 6-month-old war that has left much of Gaza in ruins. A Hamas official said the group wouldn't commit to releasing 40 living hostages, but could commit to 40 hostages total, which could mean dead or alive. 3 people were shot Wednesday, including a teenage boy wounded by police, and 5 were arrested when a hail of gunfire erupted near the end of a packed end-of-Ramadan event in Philadelphia, authorities said. Shots rang out around 2:30 p.m. in the area of North 46th Street and Wailusing Avenue at Clara Muhammad Square, where about 1,000 people were gathered. Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel told reporters at the scene. Officers were writing tickets at a nearby gas station when they heard 30 shots fired, Bethel said. The officers saw 2 groups shooting at each other. One officer approached a 15-year-old boy who was armed and opened fire, police said. The Senate on Wednesday afternoon voted in favor of passing a bill reversing the Biden administration's actions, mandating states to track and set reduction goals for greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles on highways. The Senate approved the resolution in a 53-47 vote in which Independent Senator Kyrsten Sinema and Democrats Sherrod Brown, John Tester, and Joe Manchin joined every Republican voting in the affirmative. The bipartisan bill was introduced in February by Senators Kevin Cramer, Shelley Moore Capito, and Joe Manchin. Few things are more frustrating in government than unelected bureaucrats asserting authority they don't have and foisting federal mediocrity on the excellence of states, Cramer said in floor remarks earlier Wednesday. Home ownership affordability fell to its lowest level since the 1980s, as mortgage rates reached a 23-year high and home prices set new records. Borrowing costs have eased somewhat this year, with the average rate for a 30-year home loan down about a percentage point since October. But other prices related to home ownership keep rising and show little sign of abating. Property taxes and home maintenance costs are climbing in much of the country. Non-mortgage costs, including property taxes, maintenance, utilities, and insurance, make up more than half of homeowners' overall costs, according to a 2022 analysis by Fannie Mae economists. The U.S. Postal Service filed a notice with its regulators to increase prices on first-class Forever stamps to 73 cents from 68 cents, marking yet another price hike for the financially beleaguered federal agency. If approved by the Postal Regulatory Commission, the change would take effect in July, raising the cost of mailing services products by nearly 8%. Stamp prices have risen 36% since 2019, when they used to cost 50 cents. The Postal Service last raised first-class stamp prices by 2% in January, just a few months after it raised prices 3 cents in July 2023. The Producer Price Index, which measures wholesale prices, increased 0.2% for the month, slightly less than the 0.3% estimate from economists' expectations, and not as much as the 0.6% increase in February, according to a release Thursday from the Labor Department's Bureau of Labor Statistics. Excluding food and energy, core PPI also rose 0.2%, meeting expectations. The release comes a day after the BLS reported that consumer prices again rose more than expected in March, raising concerns that the Federal Reserve will be unable to lower interest rates anytime soon. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.